To commemorate 200 years since Lancer Barracks first became a military base, the 1st 15th Royal New South Wales Lancers planned a grand parade through Parramatta, complete with an exercise of the regiment's freedom of the city. With COVID-safe protocols to consider, this was not possible. The barracks parade ground was used for a parade as grand as possible under the circumstances.
That one on.
You need it, it'll be brilliant.
Thanks, sir. Enjoy your parade, sir.
Bang.
Thanks, sir. Just watch the volume around there. I'm about to turn the mic on.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Warren Herbert, and I will be the parade commentator for this morning's celebration. On behalf of Lieutenant Colonel Andrew White, the commanding officer of the 1st 15th Royal New South Wales Lancers, I welcome you to Lancer Barracks and to the Bicentenary Parade, which will commence shortly. I would like to acknowledge the Parramatta people of the Darug Chop of the land on which we are meeting today, and pay my respects to their elders, both past and present. I would also like to pay respects to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who have contributed to the defence of Australia in times of peace and war. In front of you is the regimental parade ground. The parade ground has significant history within the Army, as it represents an area where our fallen were placed. After a battle when retreat was sounded and the unit had reassembled to call the roll and count the fallen, the hollow square was formed. The fallen were placed within the square and no one used the area as a thoroughfare. Today, the parade ground represents this square and hence a unit's fallen. It is deemed to be hallowed ground. Directly to your front on the far side of the parade ground is the museum located in the Linden House. The historical collection contains a range of artefacts and photographs that include uniforms, of which some date from the last century. Also includes equipment, saddlery, weapons, paintings, banners and trophies. The kettle drums and banners used when the regiment's band was horsed are included, as is the King's Banner awarded to the regiment for its South African War Service. The Parade Sergeant Major and the Regimental Sergeant Major of the 1st 15th Royal New South Wales Lancers, 1 Officer Class 1 Wayne Cootie, will now post the vehicles onto the parade in order to hold ground prior to the troops marching on. This symbolises the protection of the parade ground. The Regimental Sergeant Major will now order the troops on parade. The Regimental Sergeant Major will now hand the parade over to the Adjutant, Captain Rowan Mitchell, who will bring the officers of the unit onto the parade. The Adjutant will now hand the parade over to the Second in Command, Major Adrian Walsh. The Second in Command will now hand the parade over to the Parade Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Andrew White, Commanding Officer of the 1st 15th Royal New South Wales Lancers.
Regiment, a turn! Up!
Regiment! Stand at base!
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the march on of the guidons of the 1st 15th Royal New South Wales Lancers. Gentlemen are requested to remove hats if wearing them, and service personnel in uniform should only salute when the guidons are in position, when the senior escort gives the order to present arms and the band plays the musical salute, point of war.
Regiment, a turn! Freedom, parade, on center! Hey!
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. The reviewing officer for today's parade is Commander 2nd Division Major General Catherine Campbell, AO, CSC.
Regiment! General salute! Ready, stand! Off! Regiment 8, done!
The parade commander will now invite the reviewing officer to inspect the parade and band. This is as the regiment, a tradition that continues today. Lancer musicians used to be ebb cavalry, bugle for signals and communications in the field. In early days, garrisoned at Lancer Barracks, the Lancer Band became a feature of the Sydney and Parramatta social scenes. Historical records show examples of the Lancer Band performing at regimental, government and civil events such as parades, balls, ceremonies, concerts and dinners. From Federation Day in 1901 to the first Sydney Anzac Day Parade in 1921, or the opening of the Sydney Harbour Bridge in 1932, the Lancer Band has been a part of important events in New South Wales. In the late 20th century, the Lancer Band transitioned from a brass band to a modern military band, incorporating woodwind and rhythm section instruments such as guitars and keyboards. The band has continued this modernisation by developing a strong social media presence with the capability to do audio-visual recordings and productions. Members of the band continue to support regimental activities and this year deployed with the regiment on Op Bushfire Assist and Op COVID-19 Assist. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ian Hawthorne of the New South Wales Lancers Memorial Museum will now be invited to address the parade.
Honoured guests, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Lancers, past and present. It was in 1817 that the then Governor of the Penal Colony of New South Wales, Lachlan Macquarie, obtained permission from the Imperial Government in England to build a new military barracks in Parramatta. By 1820 the construction was finished and a company of the 48th Regiment of Foot, the Northamptonshires, nicknamed the Heroes of Talavera, and therefore veterans of the Napoleonic Wars, marched through the main gates into the barracks. A little-known secret, hidden in the Regimental Museum's collection, but never on public display, is an 1860 squad book for the 60th Regiment of Foot, the East Suffolks, which provides an interesting insight into a soldier's life in 1860 Australia. Pay. We're all interested in what we're paid. In 1860, the weekly pay rate for a private in the East Suffolks, under 14 years of age, but including beer money, was 1 shilling and 1 penny. Under the list of regimental necessaries, I note that a pair of socks cost 1 shilling and twopence, more than 1 week's pay for a young private. Now, try as I might, I cannot find in the list of regimental necessaries underpants. I can only infer from this that underpants were optional extras for the East Sussex in 1860. However, the value of necessaries in company store not charged to men was the princely sum of 1 shilling and 8pence. So, the quartermaster of the East Sussex was no different from quartermasters throughout history, unwilling to admit that he had anything in his stores to issue to the men. Here's one for Colonel Whiteside. Under officers' questions and answers, all officers were required to know the number of nights the men were in bed. Now, I trust that when the regiment was deployed to the Victorian border, you personally, Colonel, checked how many Lancers were in bed each night. And if they weren't, it begs the question, where the devil were they? Though it's probably best not to go down that path. What do you think, RSM? Finally, I note in the squad book that since the last half-yearly return, 14 men have been court-martialed, with a further 2 court-martials pending. In contrast, 4 men were received of good conduct pay. Thank God for the advent of the female Lancer, which I am assuming must have raised the standard of conduct of the military. Now a quick gallop through history since the 1860s that touches on the barracks. The regiment, now known as the 1st 15th Royal New South Wales Lancers, first association with the barracks and the community of Parramatta came in 1891, when K, or Parramatta Troop, was formed, with the entire regiment moving to Parramatta in 1897. From that date, the barracks has been known as Lancer Barracks, with the almost 130 years of Lancer presence making it, we think, the longest continuous association between a military unit and its local community in Australia. It also gives rise to the regiment's nickname, the Parramatta Lancers. It was in 1893 that a detachment of Lancers left the barracks to become the first colonial troops to escort Queen Victoria through the streets of London, including the well-known kleptomaniac Sergeant Barraclough, who souvenired, otherwise known as nicked, a tassel from her coach as he escorted her. The best example of Australian larrikinism of which I have ever heard. For any disbelievers in such a dastardly act, we have the tassel on display in the museum. In 1897, the Jubilee Detachment represented the Lancers at Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee celebrations in London, at military tournaments which pitted the cream of the regular British Army against the best of the colonial volunteers in various skill-at-arms competitions. Sergeant Williams and Corporal Ben Harkis of the Lancers brought back to the barracks 2 of 6 Empire Gold medals for the best of the best, establishing the Lancers as the most famous colonial regiment in the British Empire. In 1899, and another first for the regiment, the first colonial volunteers to train full-time for 6 months with the British Army in England departed Lancer Barracks. Please note, our honoured politician guests, that they paid their own way, as the government didn't contribute a bent halfpenny. I'm confident you will never allow such a thing to happen again. 2 days before returning to England, the Boer War was declared, and the Lancers commander, Fighting Charlie Cox, in a fit of patriotic fervour, volunteered his entire command to fight for the British in South Africa, without first receiving formal approval from the New South Wales government. Possibly his way of getting square with the politicians who refused to open their piggy bank. Pure conjecture on my part. In 1914, the bulk of the Lancers left Lancer Barracks to form the 1st Light Horse AIF, subsequently fighting at Gallipoli and as part of Harry Chevelle's Desert Mounted Corps through the Sinai and into Palestine. The regiment's home was still Lancer Barracks when, in 1945, it mounted what is to this day Australia's largest ever armoured assault at Balikpapan in the Dutch East Indies. In conclusion, happy birthday, Lancer Barracks. May you still be here in another 200 years and still home to the Parramatta Lancers.
The commanding officer will now address the parade.
The Honourable Dr. Jeff Lee, MP, Member for Parramatta, Councillor Bob Dwyer, Lord Mayor of Parramatta, Major General Campbell, AO CSC, Commander of the 2nd Division, distinguished guests, officers and soldiers of the 1st 15th Royal New South Wales Lancers. It's an honour to stand before you today to help commemorate the significant milestone of the bicentenary of Lancer Barracks and its place as the oldest continuously occupied military barracks on mainland Australia. Lancer Barracks has a long and proud history in the service of Great Britain, New South Wales and since Federation, the Commonwealth of Australia. The Lancers' close association with the barracks and Parramatta commenced in 1891 with the arrival of Cateroo, and we've been here ever since. Few barracks today are named for the unit that is quartered within it. The unit is committed to the service of its nation and remains one of the oldest and most decorated on the Australian Army's Order of Battle. Lancer Barracks has played a significant role in this as a training ground and a staging base prior to Lancers being sent overseas to exercise and to war. That legacy of service and connection to the barracks continues today with the current occupants. The barracks now houses a wide variety of those who share a common interest in the defence of Australia, our heritage, service and self-improvement. These range from our youth to those who still wish to stay connected after they have completed their formal service with the ADF. The current occupants of Lancer Barracks today are the New South Wales Lancer Association, the New South Wales Lancer Memorial Museum, the 203 Australian Army Cadet Unit, 3 Platoon Sydney University Regiment, RHQ Band and other elements of the 1st 15th Royal New South Wales Lancers. In addition to the formal lodges, the barracks is also regularly used by many of our wider colleagues and partners, including the New South Wales Police Force and several regular Army units from the Greater Sydney area. Most recently, the 6th Aviation Regiment used the barracks to rehearse tactical flying and insertion with their Black Hawk aircraft, and the School of Military Engineering Explosive Detection Dog Team regularly conduct search training here. More importantly, the barracks has been recently used as an operational base for support to domestic operations. In April and May this year, Lancer Barracks became the Joint Task Unit headquarter location for JTU 629.1.3 on Operation COVID-19 Assist, providing support to the New South Wales Police with ports, quarantine, compliance management. The barracks was able to rapidly be converted from an Army Reserve depot to a functioning operational and joint headquarter location. The barracks was also used in support of Operation Tartan Oceania 19 last year, providing support to the Royal Edinburgh Military Tattoo Sydney, where the ADF supported visiting militaries from 13 different nations, all quartered in the Homebush area. Custodians of the barracks over the years have worked hard to retain as much of the original character as possible, while still using the barracks as an operational base and an engagement point with our community. The Chief of Army talks about us as an army for the nation and an army in the community, and I feel Lancer Barracks helps represent that today. While the barracks has remained largely unchanged, the skyline and the community around us has changed significantly. Today, Australia is one of the most culturally diverse places on the planet. Parramatta embraces this multiculturalism, with close to 50% of its current residents born overseas. The composition of the Lancers today is more diverse than it has ever been, reflecting the community that we serve. The location of the barracks in Sydney's central city provides an attractive recruitment option for those who wish to serve in the Parramatta area. The barracks today also provides opportunities for members of the public to visit aspects of the base, to learn about the service of our forebears and experience our heritage firsthand. I'm always interested to hear of the various school groups that come to visit the barracks and the museum and their reflections on our servicemen and women. Additionally, the barracks holds the memorials to all of those from the regiment who have passed away in war and in training, providing a focal point for our commemoration. I'd like to share a quote now from the regimental history dated 1974. It reads, "Notwithstanding any shortcomings of Lancer Barracks as a depot of a modern regiment, the 1st 15th Royal New South Wales Lancers strongly cherishes its occupancy of this site, the history of which reaches back to 1820. Indeed, the very name indicates its association with the regiment." So some of the issues we face today have certainly been felt by previous generations of Lancers. On the international front, I've been grateful for well wishes the unit has received on this occasion from the modern descendants of several British regiments who served at the barracks in the 1800s, including the Royal Anglican Regiment and the Duke of Lancaster's Regiment. They remember Lancer Barracks not just as a colonial outpost, but also where several of their members passed away and are buried. Finally, Lancer Barracks, despite the ravages of time, 2 global pandemics, the passing of thousands of soldiers through her gates and onto her parade grounds, and an ever-growing vertical expansion around the barracks, has remained relevant and steadfast, true to the regiment's motto, steadfast in faith. I remain tenax in fide.
General Campbell, Lord Mayor, Brigadier Garraway, Brigadier Bridie, Parramatta member, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am honoured to be here today representing the younger generation who call Lancer Barracks home. 203 Army Cadet Unit has only occupied this place for around 25 years. However, cadets have called these barracks home since the days of universal military training in the 1920s and 30s, when detachments were affiliated with the units of the militia forces. Today's generation of Army cadets still love to get their hands on the service rifle when the opportunity arises, while weapons familiarisation is only a minor part of our overall curriculum. These days, we're more focused on developing leadership skills, resilience, a sense of service, and many of the vital skills that aren't taught in schools, yet employers are looking for. Like working as a member of a team, an ability to work with people from our diverse backgrounds, punctuality, and the ability to follow directions, and experience leading others. This is achieved through a values-based approach within which Defence's values of service, courage, respect, integrity, and excellence are entrenched as a foundation of the Australian Army Cadets culture. We are privileged that Lancer Barracks is a setting in which all of this learning occurs. Some of our cadets will go on to pursue a career in the ADF. In fact, some of our former cadets are among the regiment's ranks here today. But most will pursue other careers and other forms of service, equipped with the experiences and capabilities that the Army Cadets have given to us. The Royal New South Wales Lancers have a long association with the Army Cadets, beginning with our oldest cadet unit, the King's School, gifting the sky blue over white colours to the regiment. They have gone on to provide material support and logistics to a range of cadet units over the years. We're very grateful for the support. I thank Colonel White for the invitation to be here today, and I hope that our unit continues to be a part of the unfolding history of these barracks. Thank you.
The reviewing officer will now address the parade.
Dr. Jeff Lee, MP, Member for Parramatta, Councillor Bob Dwyer, Lord Mayor of Parramatta, colleagues, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to begin by acknowledging the Darug people, the traditional custodians of the land in which we gather today, and pay my respects to their elders past and present. I extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. Can I start by complimenting the Commanding Officer and the soldiers on parade today. It's been an outstanding parade. It's always great to see the vehicles here as well, And we always enjoy coming back here to see such a great demonstration, not only of history, but our capability going forward. Today we have experienced as well as celebrated the history and legacy of Lancer Barracks. It's 200 years since the barracks was completed, and testimony to the foresight of architect Lieutenant John Watts and the colonial administration of the day that this fine establishment has retained its relevance and importance over 2 centuries. Our previous speakers have provided us with some highlights into the rich history of the Lancer Barracks. Whilst we rightfully honour and acknowledge the traditions and history of the past and the service in this place of those who have gone before us, we also stand upon the shoulders of their legacy as we look squarely to the future. It is important that we acknowledge that this military establishment has been and will remain a fully functional and active defence establishment, supporting the Lancers in particular, but also, as the CEO advised us, contributing more broadly to Army and the 2nd Division's capability now and into the future. The Australian Army's 2nd Division forms part of an army for the nation and an army for the community. So it is fitting that Lancer Barracks remains in the physical centre of the Parramatta community, with members of units such as 1st 15th coming from this and surrounding communities. This is replicated right across Australia within the Army Reserve, providing a knowledge base and a network that build and enhance the Army's effectiveness and capability. The importance of this has been seen this year with our soldiers establishing and maximising enduring relationships with civilian agencies throughout Operation Bushfire Assist and more recently with Operation COVID-19 Assist. Their training and readiness has been essential in delivering effective support to the whole of government responses to last summer's catastrophic fires as well as the pandemic. These now enduring relationships are helping the 2nd Division focus on the safety and security of all Australians by supporting defence assistance to government departments and civilian agencies into the future. We are ensuring that our people are ready now to contribute to a broad spectrum of operations, from humanitarian assistance and disaster relief to war fighting and security tasks. In addition to our growing role in support of domestic operations, it is essential that we remain focused on our ongoing requirement to raise, train and sustain a reinforcing battle group and additional capabilities such as light cavalry to support our paired combat brigade. Working across this broad operational spectrum, our members working here at Lancer Barracks and right across the 2nd Division are an integral part of an Australian Army that is transforming and modernising to be future ready. We have confidently faced significant challenges together as we support operations overseas and more recently here at home. It is for this reason that Lancer Barracks and all those who serve here and across the country continue to be critical to Army and the ADF's mission to defend Australia and its national interests in order to advance Australia's security and prosperity.
The reviewing officer will now be invited to conduct promotions.
Captain Goodwin joined the Australian Army Reserve on the 14th of January 2009. On successful completion of officer training, Captain Goodwin was allocated to the Royal Australian Armoured Corps and posted to the 1st 15th Royal New South Wales Lancers. Captain Goodwin has deployed overseas on Operation APEC Assist, Papua New Guinea in 2018. Captain Goodwin has also deployed on the following domestic operations: Operation Bushfire Assist 1920 in 2020 and Operation COVID-19 Assist 2020. Captain Goodwin has been awarded the following honours and awards: Australian Defence Commendation Silver, Australian Defence Force Commendation Bronze, Australian Defence Medal. Captain Goodwin was promoted to Captain on the 1st of January 2015 and today Captain Goodwin is promoted to the rank of Major. Lieutenant Foxley joined the Australian Army Reserve on 29th of October 2013. On successful completion of officer training, Lieutenant Foxley was allocated to the Royal Australian Armoured Corps and posted to the 1st 15th Royal New South Wales Lancers. Lieutenant Foxley has deployed overseas as a senior project officer within an APS on Operation Slipper in 2012-2013 as part of the Transition Redeployment Team. Lieutenant Foxley has also deployed on the following domestic operations: Operation Bushfire Assist 9 and 20 in 2020, Operation COVID Assist 19 in 2020. Lieutenant Foxley has been awarded the following honours and awards: Australian Operational Service Medal, Civilian, with Fast ICAT, Operational Service Badge, Civilian, Australian Defence Medal. Today, Lieutenant Foxley is promoted to the rank of Captain. Was allocated to the Australian Army Band Corps and posted to the 1st 15th Royal New South Wales Lancers. Corporal Urquhart has deployed domestically on Operation Bushfire Assist 1920 in 2020. Corporal Urquhart has been awarded the Australian Defence Medal. Corporal Urquhart was promoted to Lance Corporal on the 23rd of June 2015 and to Corporal on the 21st November 2015. Today, Corporal Urquhart is promoted to the rank of Sergeant.
The reviewing officer will now depart the parade.
Regiment, General Salute, present, up. Regiment 810, up.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand and remain standing as the guidons are marched off the parade. Gentlemen are requested to remove hats, and the service personnel in uniform should only salute when the parade commander gives the order to present arms and the band plays the musical salute, point of war.
Regiment, regimental salute, present, up. Guidon party, attack! Guidon escort, allez!
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. The parade commander will now hand over the parade to the second in command. The second in command will now hand the parade over to the adjutant, who will fall out the officers. The adjutant will now hand the parade over to the regimental sergeant major, who will march the soldiers off the parade. Ladies and gentlemen, refreshments and morning tea will soon be served in the drill hall. Officers and sergeants' messes and the Soldiers Club will also be open, along with the museum, for your perusal. Please enjoy the relaxed atmosphere, but please ensure social distancing is maintained. On behalf of Lieutenant Colonel Andrew White, the commanding officer of the 1st 15th Royal New South Wales Lancers, thank you for your attendance and your attention during this parade. We hope you enjoy the rest of your visit to Lancer Barracks. Good morning.
Few sequence of shots. For the first one, I just want everyone to head and just looking straight ahead. And then when I ask you, head and eyes looking at me. That's it, ready? 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Sonny and I have been out of freedom of entry, plan and a number of other activities. All of those things had to be restricted. So I'm really grateful that we still have the opportunity to conduct a COVID-modified parade today. And that parade doesn't happen easily or quickly. So firstly, thanks to Len and the association, and Ian and the museum for all the support, the gate, and everything else, particularly the vehicles involved to get that work. And also big thanks to the RSM, who's really been the driver.
We can achieve